Hello friends, my name is Christopher. Today is the 1st of June 2020 and this is what's growing in Wisconsin. Of course, this isn't an extensive list of everything that's growing in Wisconsin. We have 5 gardening zones here. I'm in 5A in Oshkosh. It's my caveat that I'm going to give at the beginning of every one of these monthly garden videos. So, May is done. How about that? Everything is really green and lovely. We've had a fair amount of changes here, and I think you'll be excited, especially if you watched last video, so you have some sort of context for the growth of this. And if you're really into it, you can check out the video from this time last year, which happened to be when my wife was giving the garden tour because I was in Germany. So I'm celebrating with my Deutsche Fußballbund shirt. Woohoo! Let's look at some fruit trees. Since I saw you last, I planted 4 new fruit trees. Here is a Contender Peach, so Prunus persica Contender. This is a sweet cherry pie cherry tree, Prunus cerasus Eubank sweet cherry. This is a Honeycrisp, woohoo! Malus pumila Honeycrisp instead of Malus domestica. Ha 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 ha. And then there's the Granny Smith that I had to replace because it died due to some girdling. Last month we talked about 4 of my trees that were girdled, the 2 apples and the 2 pears at that time. 1 of each ended up dying. Let's take a look at the dead pear. This right here is a gosh darn heartbreak because it would have been a 4-year-old tree, and it's like 9 feet tall, and I had it splayed so beautifully. It kills me, but I'm going to be getting a new Bartlett pear. The time I get my last cherry tree behind you, I'm getting a Mount Morrissey, so then the orchard will have 9 trees, which is an upgrade of 4 from last year. But there are reasons to celebrate. For example, this peach tree, this is my Reliance peach tree, also 4 years. Prunus persica Reliance. It is my biggest and most full tree, and it was loaded with pink flowers this year. In fact, through the magic of editing, take a look. Yeah, pretty slick, eh? And now I will zoom you in, and you can see that there are hundreds or so of baby peaches. All those little nubbins there. Peaches, peaches, just waiting to be had. Millions of peaches. Peaches for me. This is a 90s song. Millions of peaches. Da 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 da. Oh hey, come on into the garden. There is an abundance of things to talk about now, and I'm going to take you through every single one of them. In the hoop, we're going to kind of go like this. So, starting here, I found a genetic male-female kiwi plant. So this is a perennial and it's going to live here forever. It should climb to about 10 feet tall. I've never grown kiwi before, excited to try it. In the rest of this bed, I planted essentially just vining flowers, morning glories, moonwalkers, and some other things, names that I don't remember. On the opposite side of the kiwi, I have green pole beans. All of them came up really nicely. They are about 7 inches tall right now. When I come back to you in a month, they should be several feet tall. This row is essentially a mixture of peas, beans, and squashes. So I'll show you an example of each. Here's a sugar snap pea, growing nice and tall. It's about 2 feet. Underneath this pea, we have some assorted potted beans that will be growing up in between them. And right over here, we have a squash. I think this might be a crookneck squash. We will find out. I don't know where the tag is. In between all of the actual vegetables along this row, I do have vining, climbing flowers. So my thought is, at the height of summer, at the end of July or August, whenever these are really nice and tall, we'll have fruit, we'll have vegetables, and really pretty flowers of all different colors. Last month I had a white half barrel here with a blueberry and an American cranberry, and then right where I'm sitting I had a lingonberry. I showed you how the lingonberry had died. Moved some stuff around. I got a new black currant, planted it right here. Here's my red currant that I planted last year. They're approximately the same size, really beautiful. I'm gonna say they're both 2-year plants, 2nd-year plants, which is cool. The raspberries are coming along really nicely. In a second, I'll zoom in and show you how they're setting on fruit. I got a frog from my grandma and grandpa's house. They're having an estate sale this month, which is very sad, but it's nice when you can incorporate family things into your life. This was in their garden once upon a time. Actually, I think this frog was an ashtray. You could flick off the ashes from cigarettes into the frog's mouth. I think it looks perfect right there. And then in front of the frog here, I've got 7 of the peppers that were given to me by viewer Kevin. And I had 21 of them in total, so I'm trying them in 3 different grow mediums. We'll see how those do over the summer. Here we've got, well, a couple different things. The gooseberry, as you may recall, was eaten by some varmint over the winter time. It did the pruning for me. So there are a few actual gooseberries on here, so few that I can't even see them. I wouldn't be surprised if something has eaten them. Instead, this went into full-on grow mode. So it's a really lush green bush, and it'll be, I'm assuming, a heavy producer next year, but nothing this year. Disappointing, because I grew to love gooseberries and jam, and now I'm going to have to see if I can get them secondhand or just not include them at all. Both of the varieties of rhubarb are doing nicely. This giant dinosaur rhubarb, as I call it, and the other domestic back there, they're about the same size. This is probably 50% larger, so really not about the same size. What am I talking about? We've already harvested some of this, made some tasty things. I made some rhubarb pulled pork, that was good. Made some sort of rhubarb cake, that was great. And then I'll be cutting the rest probably this month, you know, doing a big 2/3 harvest of it, and then I'll freeze it and chop it up, give some of it away, all that good stuff. As promised, here's a zoom in on some of the raspberries. These are the Black Jewel raspberries. They will do very nicely. We'll get a lower crop this year because I clipped them for trimming, but that's okay. And then here's how my quote-unquote normal raspberries are. I get 2 harvests out of these, late summer and early fall. So here's a fun tidbit in this white corrugated, what was supposed to protect the trunks of my other trees. I have the Granny Smith apple. Instead of just throwing it out, I realized that the root system was really healthy and the girdling was here and up. So below the girdle, I saw that it was starting to send out shoots. I got 2 of them. So I decided to plant it here in the garden where it's extra protected. And if it grows, it grows. It'll always be stinted from here on out. So I thought I'll either keep it as a 6-foot tree, like a little topiary, or I will transplant it out elsewhere in the yard. Either way, it's here, it's safe, and it's an experiment. Okay, here I am going to try to get everything that I've got in barrels in one shot, and I've already not succeeded because over there, beyond the herbs, is a black grow bag, and it's got 2 yellow squash in it. So, back barrels, I've got 6 of the, let's say, ornamental peppers, the hot peppers that were given to me by viewer Kevin. This is the 2nd medium that I'm trying, barrels. I also have some ornamentals from Jim, the Midwest gardener. Here and in a barrel over yonder, I've got my flax, so the linseed that's growing up, germinated so nicely, and it's really soft. Oh my goodness, it's the coolest feeling thing. This and the asparagus ferns, the coolest feeling thing that I have in the garden. I'm trying them in 2 different areas of sun and shade. Here I've got ground cherries, and I think this might be an aster that got in there. Either way, several different ground cherries. This will self-select just to 1. And I'm thinking later this season I might have to have some sort of cone around it to catch the berries as they fall. Zucchini in here, I'll thin this down to 1. Whoop! Now it's thinned down to 2. Ah, the humanity! Over here, I've got a wash tub full of assorted herbs. All of these I started from seed, yay! And admittedly transplanted out too soon for some of them, but they're coming back, so they'll bounce back, you know, in a month. They should be really full and awesome, but I got everything. I got cilantro, parsley, basil, chamomile, rosemary. Yeah, you know, good normal herb stuff in here. And then behind that, these are Jerusalem artichokes. sunchokes, they're also known as. I've been wanting to grow these for years, ever since Patrick over at One Yard Revolution was growing them. He hasn't put out videos in like a year and a half, guys. I really miss Patrick's content. Anyways, these will be like 8 or 9 feet tall. They look like sunflowers, kind of. They got a yellow leaf with a little black-brown head in the middle, but you eat the tubers. They're also known as artichokes because something like 50% of the population can't actually process them, so they give you terrible gas. I'm excited to try them because they will add to the vertical feel of the garden when they grow up, and I just like to try new things. They're perennial too. So now you are standing right where I was sitting just a moment ago. Got a couple things. Potatoes are obviously coming up very nicely. Here we have, well, I thought it was all carrots. You can see some carrots coming up here. And then in rows, I don't know if I planted spinach accidentally or different kinds of carrots. It doesn't look right, so I'm not exactly sure what I reseeded with. Originally, I had tried to do like a square foot gardening method and seed them as opposed to seeding them in rows. And then varmints got in here and threw them all over. Anyways, it's kind of a mess. Over here they did the same thing with the spinach, so I reseeded just in rows like I normally do, and you can see the rows are coming in just fine. You know, in another couple of weeks we'll be harvesting the spinach. And back here are radishes, and the radishes look great. It's time to harvest radishes. As you can see, just pulling it out, it's radish time. So I should eat that one right now and not forget about it, otherwise it'll get flaccid. This is the asparagus and strawberry bed. In a month, we've got phenomenal changes. All these ferns are the asparagus. They're second-year asparagus, so technically I could harvest 50% of what came up, but instead I'm just letting them all fern so that they can photosynthesize and send energy down to the roots. Lots of them have come up and fallen over. This one, for example, is like 4 feet tall, so it flops on down, which is fine. I've got, a whole bunch of second or third year mature strawberries in here. The ones that look really good and are happy like this one have just came up naturally. And then I've got these droopy loopy ones, which literally yesterday I found somebody getting rid of them on the Facebook marketplace. So I got something like 18 really mature plants for 25 bucks, which is a steal. This is literally the worst time to be transplanting them, as the flowers are on there and they're setting fruit, but it was either me or somebody else got them, and I thought, well, I'm gonna take them, fill in the spaces. This is a lush full bed, and we're definitely going to get strawberries this year. Let's see, depending on where you're zoomed in. Yeah, we got berries right here. They're not red yet. They will be soon. It's fun. Bees have really been going crazy in the garden already. And hey, speaking of going crazy in the garden, this is the most densely I have planted a bed before, and I'm stoked about it. I've got 7 different tomato plants. All of these I started myself except for this one and that one, because as I got out here and I transplanted them, I snapped that one in half and this one just died. So that's okay, pretty good for the filler. These look how they should this time of year in my grow zone. So in another month they're gonna be like up to here. They're indeterminate, so they'll grow 6 or 8 feet tall. I've got peppers in the middle. I think these are just big green ones, again from Kevin. This is the 3rd growth media. Any of the flowers you can see are zinnias. Here are some of my brassicas that didn't fit in the brassica patch. And a marigold, again, that I started myself. Yay for incorporating flowers in my design this year. And over here, oh, you're gonna see a really cool trellis. Ta-da! It's a really cool trellis, and I made it from raspberry canes that I thinned out in the springtime, and a bunch of twine in between, and these steel rods. Therefore, these beans that I planted down here, they're gonna climb and climb and climb. It should be pretty cool this year. Onions, garlic scapes, pretty tall. Lovely, lovely hair accessory for my, I don't know, quarantine pompadour. Here are the assorted brassicas. Again, it's cabbage, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts. They look terrific, way bigger than anybody in my neighborhoods, because I started them myself and I planted them out early. And then over there, you can see the quintessential foliage of beets. Those came in just fine. I don't think I'm gonna try my square foot way of doing it again, not for seeds. I'm just going to do rows. Thought I'd try something new. Didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, but that's okay. When I harvest those, I'll put something else in this space. Anyways, don't forget the row of beans is right in front of that there. And then in front of me is 2 rows of corn. See? Row, row, and actually 1, 2, 3, probably off camera, 4 blueberry bushes. Let's talk about the corn first. This is my 3rd, and if it doesn't work, final year attempting to do corn. I've had varmint issues in the past, so I thought this time I'm planting it in raised beds. So far, I have had no damage to it. Usually, when the corn had been at this height in ground over back there, a lot of it had been eaten by slugs, if nothing else. Haven't experienced that yet. Great. My next steps are to probably net this. I'm going to put 4 posts on the corner and probably 1 in the middle here, and have netting go around it and across the top of it so birds and squirrels and stuff don't get into this as it grows. Fingers crossed, we'll see how that goes. And the blueberries, this was another kind of spur-of-the-moment thing for me. You know, I had 1 blueberry in the blue pot over there in the perennial section, and I was out at a hardware store, of all places, and I saw some blueberries for sale. It's not the kind of place I was expecting to get them, but I was, I don't know, call it a moment of weakness. Or a moment of inspiration, if you will. So now I have 4 different varieties, great for cross-pollinating. They're going to be going at different times of year. Those 2 right there already have beautiful little white bell flowers that have been pollinated by the bumblebees. You know, assuming these don't get eaten, like everything else it seems in my garden this past year, they should be 3 or 4 feet tall. This should be essentially a solid hedge is my goal of blueberries. I thought in planting them here, yes, I lose a row to walk across, but I can use the picket fence over winter to put essentially a cage, you know, use some chicken wire and wire them off, so hopefully things that eat them will be less inclined to eat them. Fingers crossed, you know, you do what you can do. So I think that's it in the garden right now, but I just wanted to give you a pano to show you how things are, because it's lovely and green. It really is very impressive this time of year. And now we can go in the front and check out some flowers. Welcome. This is my home from the perspective of my neighbor's driveway right now, and this is my daughter Charlotte. Charlotte, say hi.
Hi.
Very good. We're going to show you the flowers in the front now. We're going to get right down into those beds, but I kind of wanted to give you the whole feel for the cottage style that we've got going on. We've got 4 different window beds, or window boxes that I built last year. We've got pots in the middle, and then of course we've got perennials in ground, giving you multiple different levels. And you see how they tie into the color of the brick, the oranges and the reds in particular, and then that transitions to the more, I don't know, wild things, the purples and the pinks in the bed. So let's get down on the ground. Well, friends, you missed the tulips by about a week, but through the magic of editing, I can snap and show you a picture of how great they looked. Aren't they spectacular? Ooh, ah! Now back to reality. We have these yellow marbly flowers which just died like yesterday. I'm so sorry. They're beautiful. I have no idea what they're called, but they're there. This is a volunteer phlox that came up. The rest of the normal phlox are actually over there, so it doesn't pay to show you right now, but eventually I'm going to have just a wall of purple phlox and then red and purple bee balm, which I'm psyched about, and so is my neighbor. She's so happy to see it. Lottie, what else can we show them? Can we show them the flowers over there? Okay? Okay, lead the way. Here we go. Here we've got some beautiful flowers, some annuals actually that my wife has filled in between the sedum and other things. It's nice to get those. And there's Charlotte, not stepping on flowers exactly, but kind of crawling over the sedum, some volunteer hostas. The irises will be blooming soon. Japanese iris, as they're known colloquially. We had another iris actually that bloomed and was done already. Yeah, there we go. It's like Godzilla going through Tokyo, just taking out those flowers. Thanks, Charlotte. This, with the burgundy leaves, has beautiful pink flowers that will come up this month. I hope a lot of them are in bloom, actually, for you for the video next month. But here's how this looks. When we transition up, of course, you can see our pots, geraniums, and other things. Pots on the windows. Pots. And then up top, the window boxes, again, red geraniums. That was my special request this year. Bridget does all the pots, and she always comes up with creative things. And this year I really wanted geraniums in honor of my grandma who passed away last fall. And she said, "Oh, your window boxes are beautiful. You're going to plant geraniums, right?" She had a thick German accent. So yes, Grandma, here are the geraniums. So as we're walking, we'll do some walking and talking. That's a spirea, known colloquially as a bridal wreath. See if I can focus. Ta-da! We are going to plant one right about where Charlotte is right now, I think. So you might see that next month. They're just so lovely. My neighbor's getting a lot of work done on her yard. That's why it looks brown. It's going to be reseeded. She's getting a new retaining wall. Lottie, let's go in the backyard. Okay? Thank you. Just a really quick blurb. No flowers here yet, as you can see, but it's filling in. These are all assorted lilies and interesting things. In another month or two, it's going to be about this tall with really beautiful different colored flowers. And the hydrangea may be opening up probably 2 months with lovely giant white bulbs. Back by the lilac bush again, it didn't have as many flowers as I was expecting it to, which is really disappointing. Almost none on the southern side, some on the west, is that right? East, south, yes, on the western side. Oh God. Meant to do that. And as you can see, they're just not that big, you know, comparatively to my hand. And they're a white. These used to be purple, and I didn't realize that they changed colors. Is this like a pH thing in the soil? I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research. I will, of course, put these in water. They won't go to waste just because I ripped off this limb like a Neanderthal. I'll use it as a gesture device. Over here, you can see light pink bleeding hearts. That's 3 plants that look like they have filled in as one, so they've done a great job being transplanted into this area. I want to get some white bleeding hearts and fill it in front of this space. Should be pretty nice. It's kind of hard to see from the house, but when you come outside in the backyard, which we've been doing a lot, it fills in nicely, and it transitions your eyes to over here, the area behind the lilacs, which is a ton of phlox. So I believe it's supposed to be 2 different colors, and they open up at different times. Hi! These were barely popping up last month, and now they're as tall as a 2-year-old. I've been doing some weeding in between there, something in the mint family that's climbing up. Now remember, weeds are just flowers that come up where you don't want them, but I'm getting rid of them. The phlox looks lovely. It spreads, anybody who has phlox knows, so the goal in a couple years is for this to just be a confluent phlox patch, and I know what will happen. Over there, we have the tiger lilies. None of them have come up yet. Sometimes they don't. We shall see. It all depends on rain and heat and sun, I guess. But Charlotte loves to play in the leaves of the lilies, as it were. It's a nice, relaxing corner back here. Hey, that's all she wrote for flowers, so I wanted to say thanks for sticking around. These videos are long, purposefully. Since you stuck around this long, here's a teasing taste of a project that I'm working on right now. Building an 8x12 shed, so there'll be some videos on that. Right now I've just got the skids in the ground yesterday. Later on today I'm going to be building the floor. Hey! So, pretty fun, right, Charlotte? Awesome. Let's see. YouTube will recommend a video for you right here. Be sure to check that out, and you can click right here to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Thanks a lot for watching. You guys are the best. I love you. Say bye-bye. 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 Mwah.